everyone, this is Cheryl and this is Manny. Welcome to my sewing room. Well, here it is. My quilt is all done. This is the Beginner's Botanical Quilt. It's been a long journey, but you're almost there. In this video, I'm going to go over layering all your fabrics, a little bit about quilting stitches, and I'll show you a different method of putting the quilt binding on. So let's get started. In order to effectively layer your quilt fabrics, first find a large area to lay it down on. Either your dining room table, if you have a large dining room table, or your kitchen floor. I don't recommend you do it on top of carpeting. After you've got all of your fabrics cut out for the cotton batting and the back, then place your cotton batting down first. Then take your fabric for the back of the quilt and lay it down on top. Then smooth it out. Take your long ruler and use it to smooth the fabric out. So start in the center of your quilt and work your way out to the sides and then go across to the other side. Then turn the ruler and go across this way and then this way. As you're using your ruler, do not press hard down on top of your fabrics. Just let it loosely glide across your fabric. For this next step, you may want to get a family member or friend to help you turn it over. Now turn it over so that the cotton batting side is on top. And again, smooth it out again. Then take your quilt top and lay it down on top. And you want to make sure that you have fabric and cotton batting extending outside of all of your edges. If you're taking your quilt to a Longarm quilter, they require at least 4 inches extending out on all 4 sides. And again, take your long ruler and start in the middle of your quilt and work your way out to the edges. And then go across the other side. And again, start back in the middle and go to the other side. And remember, do not press the ruler down hard. Just let it gently glide across your quilt. Before you do your quilting stitches, take large safety pins and place them all over your quilt. After you have your layers of fabric all pinned together, then you need to decide on a quilt stitch pattern that is appropriate for your quilt. If you need instructions on how to do quilting stitches, then click on the link in the upper right hand corner called Beginner's Quilting Stitch Patterns. Most quilting fabric is about 42 inches wide from selvage edge to selvage edge. Fold your fabric in half, trim the raw edge straight. So line the ruler up on one of the lines on your cutting mat and then cut it straight. On this demonstration of quilt binding, I'm going to cut mine just 2.5 inches wide because I'm going to show you a different method of putting the binding on. So cut the strips that you need 2.5 inches wide. So continue cutting out the number of strips you need to cover the edges of your quilt. Then take your ruler, place it on the end of the strip and trim the selvage edges off. Take all of your strips and stitch the ends together, doing a 1/4 inch seam. Press that seam open. After you've got all of your strips stitched together and the seams are pressed open, then fold the binding strips in half and press the full length of the strips. Place the end of your binding strip in the middle on one side. You're putting the raw edge of the binding against the raw edge of the quilt. Go over about 4 inches from the end of your strip, and that's where you're going to start stitching. Back stitch, do a 1/4 inch seam, stitch down to this corner. Stop when you get a 1/4 inch away from this edge. Then take it out of your sewing machine. Take your binding strip and fold it this way away from the quilt. Make sure the edges are even with each other along here. Place your thumb or finger there. Fold the strip over your thumb. Line this folded edge of the binding against this edge of the quilt, and you may want to place a pin there to hold it. And then go back and put it in your sewing machine and continue stitching 1/4 inch seams. So now you're going to start from the edge way over here and stitch a 1/4 inch seam. Continue going around all your sides and fold your corner like this at every corner. When you get a few inches away from where you started, then stop and take it out of your machine. Overlap the ends, and you're going to cut off about a 1/2 inch overhang. Pull these ends out and fold your quilt a little bit. Unfold the ends and bring the ends together, front sides together. And then stitch a 1/2 inch seam. Open the seam up, finger press it open, fold your binding, and go ahead and pin it if you need to, and then finish stitching that 1/4 inch seam all the way across there. Unfold the binding out, and with an iron, go ahead and press on those seams, pressing the binding out and away from your quilt. Turn the quilt over so that the front side is facing up. Then fold the binding up and over to the front side. Pull the binding edge past the stitch line. So here's the stitch line here. Fold your binding over. And I'm going to show you how to fold your corners. So place a pin on each side of the corner, holding the binding in place. Take a straight pin, press down and in, fold over, and pin. So you would do this at all 4 corners, then continue to pin the remaining binding over to the front side. I recommend you pin one edge at a time all the way across, and then stitch close to the edge of the binding all the way across, and do that on all 4 sides. And this is what the binding should look like when you're all done. For more quilt-related projects, play this video until a green screen appears and then click on the links. Okay, everybody, here's your pillows. Maria, make sure your thumb is up. Jamie, the arrow's pointing to your left. Everybody ready? If you like this video, then click on thumbs up and then click on share to share this video with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then click on that red subscribe button down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Click on the bell and enter your email address. If you're not receiving those email notifications, then go to your cell phone or iPad. Click on settings and turn notifications on. This is Maria, this is Jamie, and this is Manny. And to the left, and so glad you guys came to my sewing room. See you next time, and happy sewing.
In my mom's world, left.